What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Young Guns podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about TSN's Core 4 Under 24 ranking that was created by Craig Button, who did the scouting, did the evaluation. He does this every year, and we have a lot to break down. So, starting off with the first team, we have the Dallas Stars. What do you think, Luca? Are you in agreement with this? Is this the best team that has the best core 4 under 24 or core 4 plus more?
Well, I think Dallas is definitely up there. I think they've got some really good talent coming down the pipeline. They've obviously got Robertson, Ottinger, and Heiskanen, and even Wyatt Johnston all playing in the NHL right now. They have a really good young core going for them. I think Dallas has done a really good job drafting and making trades as well. And yeah, I think they're one of the better teams in the NHL. I think first place makes a lot of sense for them. I can see why Craig Button did that. I'm a big fan of Logan Stankoven, who's ranked number 5 on this list by Craig Button. I like kind of what the Stars have done here, and just for people that don't know, so basically, he gave them letter grades. So there's AAA, AA, A, B, and C. AAA would mean superstar caliber. AA would be elite caliber. A would be number one goalie, top pair defenseman, and first line forward. B would be tandem goalie, top four defenseman, top six forward, and C is backup goalie, depth defenseman, bottom six forward. He put Logan Stankoven as a top six forward. I can see that. Logan Stankoven's been really good um, in the WHL for Cam Loops. I like this a lot from Dallas. I really do. I wouldn't really change much, to be honest. I think the list is pretty interesting. And look, they've already got, in my opinion, three superstars on their team. I know that he's listed Heiskanen and Ottinger as elite, which they are, but I think that, at least for in my opinion, Ottinger's a superstar goalie in this league. He's absolutely solid. So
Yeah, Odinger, taking the NHL by storm last year in the playoffs, forcing a game 7 versus the Flames when everyone thought that Dallas was going to get swept in 4. He really kept them in it. Jason Robertson proved that, he was a great player last year. This year he's playing as if he's a franchise player. Like he would be a potential candidate to be the next captain of the Dallas Stars. And, he's up for the Hart end for the Morris Rocket Richard Trophy at the moment. So, I mean, I do agree with this list for this year. Obviously, next year it's going to change, in my opinion. But let's go on to the second list, which is the Detroit Red Wings. Moritz Seider, in my opinion, fantastic defenseman, not having the greatest season this year. We call that a sophomore slump. So I mean, hopefully he gets back on track. But Lucas Raymond, fantastic forward. He's gonna be a top end talent moving forward, and he's gonna be a huge piece. Well, all these guys are gonna be huge pieces for the Detroit Red Wings, for the next 10 years or so. Edvinson, he looked, fantastic for Sweden at the World Junior tournaments in the past. I do believe that he will be a top caliber defenseman, playing possibly alongside Moritz Seider. We'll see if that happens. Sebastian Koza, he will be a starter in the near future. Even though you have Vanacek and Nadalkovic, I don't see Nadalkovic staying
Huso,
longer.
Huso, Huso,
Oh, it's Huso. My
Huso.
bad. Oh,
Yeah,
bad. Yeah, my bad. Huso and Nadalkovic. I do see Koza potentially making the Detroit Red Wings within the next 2 years. So,
yeah.
uh, you know, top end talent, and Marco Casper, another great player. Still young,
I
Detroit Red Wings, but he will be a member in the next couple of years.
I kind of disagree with Detroit being a number two. I think there's at least one other team who's ranked at number three that I think should be at number two, and that's the Buffalo Sabres. I know that Detroit's got a lot of really good players. Like you mentioned, Edvinson. Kosa's another one that could be potential really good players. But if you look at what Buffalo has on their team, I really like their core. Rasmus Dahlin and Owen Power are already taking the NHL by storm. Dylan Cousins is having a fantastic season this year. JJ Paterka and Jack Quinn as well have really cemented themselves in the NHL. I think Buffalo has a lot more NHL ready players and a lot more guys that I think can make an impact with them long term.
Yeah.
Lukanen is currently playing for the Sabres as well. there's a lot of really good guys, and I think Buffalo's done a really good job at picking up players. I'm a big fan of Noah Ostlund, who's ranked 10th on this list. I like him a lot, and I think Devin Levi for them, having a tandem of potentially Devin Levi and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen for years to come is really interesting. So I think that honestly, I know that based on the letter grades, he put Detroit ahead of Buffalo. In my opinion, I would swap them. I don't know if I'd even have Detroit in the top three, but I definitely think that Buffalo should be top two. I think Buffalo
Look,
is one of the best prospect pools in the league,
the
and they're
in my
solid.
opinion, yeah, in my
Yeah,
opinion, I do believe that Buffalo should be ahead of Detroit because they have a lot
yeah,
more NHL proven players. Because
yeah,
we've we've been we bared witness essentially to what they're capable of doing at the NHL level. In terms of this ranking, it's all about ceiling, what they're capable of doing, how they're going to be
yeah,
long term, and three of these players have yet to prove what they're capable of doing in the NHL. So moving on to the Buffalo Sabres, you already gave a little
yeah,
bit of a review. Look at that. Oh boy, that's stacked in my opinion.
yeah. It's
That
huge.
oh, and the best part about that is that you have guys. Majority of the players on this list are NHL proven,
Yep.
and not only that, but
Anderson too. I forgot about that.
yeah,
Anderson.
like this is a team to be scared about for years to come. And I'm not a big fan of the whole letter grading in terms of how he ranked um, Buffalo.
Yeah,
But, like, just looking at this right now, like, they're gonna have a lot of problems signing many of these couple of years. They're gonna have to
yeah.
make sure to clear a lot of cap space.
Well, it's not just that. I think like I think what's interesting about Buffalo is like I said before, a lot of these guys are playing in the NHL, but even the ones that aren't, like Matt Savoy, Devin Levi, Noah Ostlund, Yuri Kulich, like these are all guys that are still playing really good hockey in their respective leagues. I know Kulich has struggled a little bit in the AHL. I watched him play a little bit when I went to watch Laval versus Rochester. He's a really fun player to watch. He's entertaining as hell. So I think Buffalo really do have a solid core for them for the future, and that's why I think I have them ahead of Detroit. I want to move on to obviously, me and Chris's favorite team, and I think a lot of people that watch us their favorite team as well, the Montreal Canadiens at number
Yeah.
4. Now, this is where people might call me crazy. I think that right now the Canadians have a better core than Detroit. And the reason I say that is because Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield, are taking this league by storm. Caulfield's got 19 goals already this season. Nick Suzuki's having a fantastic start to the year. Caden Gooley has played really, really good competitive hockey. Obviously, he's not better than Sider, but he's a really good player. Slavkovsky's had a good start to the year. I know he hasn't been fantastic points wise, but he's starting to adapt himself into the NHL.
Hi
Kirby Doc,
his overall game has improved, and that's what I like
yeah,
about that. He's not a guy that's getting a lot of points for the Habs, but he's doing a lot of small things right. In terms of where he positions himself on the ice and taking a lot of bad hits, that he needs to improve on. Caden Gooley,
absolutely.
people are questioning, should he be a candidate for the Calder this year? And people are just saying, if he was given power play minutes, then
I,
yes.
I
But
100% agree. Yeah, if he
by the
was on the
moment,
power play, this guy
no.
would
And
win the Calder.
yeah. And in terms of another player that I just wanted to touch upon in terms of Buffalo, Rasmus Dahlin is up for the Norris
Yep,
right now. He's going to
yep,
be competing with Eric Carlson, and they're both Swedish. So I mean, there's a lot to be proud of
yeah.
in terms of the development coming out of Sweden right now. And
One,
looking at this now in terms of Montreal, Jack Guy, you know, we all know the story about Costco, and he's been on a fantastic story. Philip
Kirby
Massar, we
Doc
saw,
too had a
yeah,
good start
he's
to
having a
that.
redemption tour. We made a video about that. Um, Philip Massar, we saw that he was very good during the preseason. I'm surprised that Owen Beck is not part of this list. He impressed
Yeah,
me a lot. He was uh, an option to make Team Canada's World Junior team this
you
year, but
know
he
who
got
else is
cut.
not on this list? That should be Joshua
Who?
Roy.
Yeah, that's another one too. Lane Hudson, that was a steal in the second round in the
Yeah, he's looking
2022
like a
draft in
monster.
Montreal. It's looking really good for Montreal. I do believe that they're finally gonna have a solid core, and they haven't had great development like this in terms of having future superstar talent probably since the early '90s when they won the cup.
And
So
And so I think right now, like if you were to rank the top 4 teams, I think for me, my top 4 is Dallas number 1, Buffalo 2, Montreal 3, and then I'm gonna say Ottawa 4 ahead of Detroit. And the reason I'm saying Ottawa 4 ahead of Detroit is because kind of similar to Montreal, but look, they've got Kachuk, who's been fantastic. They've had Stutzler, who's been fantastic. Sanderson's had a really good season for Ottawa. Josh Norris, I know he's injured, has been great for Ottawa. Shane Pinto's had a good start for them. I think Ottawa's just top 5 players. I think beat out Detroit. I know that Ottawa doesn't have that superstar goalie. They're expecting Shogart to potentially be that in the future. But in terms of Ottawa, I just think that they're better than Detroit core wise in terms of the players that they have, which is why I would put Ottawa fourth and then Detroit fifth. It's just because
Yeah,
I see Ottawa as having better quality caliber players. You know, like I
and
mentioned
yeah.
before, Kachuk's already the captain. Stutzla's had a really good year, so
Well,
Ottawa's got some
Suzuki's already the
interesting
captain
guys.
of the Canadians as well, that you could
Yeah,
throw that in.
that's
See,
it.
the thing with this ranking is that if you're going based off 2022, 2023, this year, this season alone, then yes, Ottawa has to be higher because they have proven players at the
Absolutely,
NHL level, right? So that's why
absolutely.
Detroit falls down a little bit because yes, they have a lot of top end talent, but most of those guys are not proven, right? The only ones that we know that are capable of being superstars or franchise players are Sider and Lucas Raymond, like you saw above. Moving down to New Jersey, you have Jack Hughes, who's wow, fantastic. People are saying that he could potentially be better than Patrick Kane. Don't shoot the messenger. Okay, that's the talk right now. Everyone's saying that he's really kicking ass right now in New Jersey. Yes, they're a little bit in a slump right now, but they've had an overall fantastic season. Nico Heischer, when healthy, fantastic. You have Jack Hughes' brother, Luke Hughes, who's going to be a top end defenseman. Simon Nemec as well. Dawson Mercer, we saw what he was capable of doing last year in terms of his offensive production. Alexander Holtz has been thrown around in trade rumors in terms of acquiring a top forward. So we'll see if he's going to be a member of the New Jersey Devils moving forward. But that's another top core that I really like.
Yeah, I like New Jersey's core. I'm a big fan of Luke Hughes and Simon Nemec. Obviously, Jack Hughes as well. I like New Jersey. I think they lack a little bit more than that. I think they're very good offensively. I like the D of Hughes and Nemec. If they can find themselves a goaltender for the future, I know Vanecek's had a really good start to the year, but if they can find themselves
Yeah.
a young goaltender for the future, I think New Jersey has themselves an interesting core here. Obviously, Nico Dawes and Akira Schmidt could be options, but I just don't see them as potential starting goalies that could play 50 games in a season. So I like New Jersey's core. I want to move on to Colorado's mainly because I think they're too high. I look at Colorado, and like I said, and I look at this list, and I look at the team that's just under them. I don't know how Colorado is ranked this high. I'm sorry. I know that they have Makar and Byram. I understand all of that. However, for me personally, when you look at core fours, you got to be able to identify that every single one of these players is going to make an impact. Kale Makar, yes, obviously. Bowen Byram, yes, obviously. Newhook's had a good season. I still expect a little bit more out of him, and Annunen hasn't even played a game in the NHL yet. So I don't really know why Colorado's ranked this high, especially with the next team that's just under them is got a better prospect pool in my opinion and a better core. This one to me in my opinion is blown out. I'm not saying Colorado shouldn't be high. I'm saying that if you look at where they're at compared to the other teams on this list and the team that's just under them, that's way too high to have them at 7. I don't know
I
if you
do
agree.
agree. I do agree. And you look at, the Ducks, yes, again, you can make the case like Detroit. Most of those guys not proven at the NHL level. But when you have Zegers, Drysdale, and McTavish there as your top three of prospects for the Ducks,
Yeah.
potentially gonna add more. They're in the running for Connor Bedard, so probably next year's ranking they're gonna be a lot higher.
Yeah.
Or maybe if they add
But
Fantelli or
But
Mitchkov,
not
whatever.
that, not only that, they've got two guys that are on the World Junior team this year, in Olin
Yeah,
Zellweger and Nathan Gaucher. Right, this is a team that's got themselves some really good prospects. So in my opinion, the Ducks should be way above Detroit. Like they should be next to New Jersey and the Detroit conversation and making an argument for that. I don't
yeah.
know why Colorado is there. That one is surprising to me. Moving on to Vancouver. I don't want to get too much into this one. Same thing with Vancouver. Way too high, in my opinion. Like I said, you know, Pedersen, Hughes, yes, absolutely. Guys that I think are good enough to be considered the core. Lekkerimaki hasn't even played a game in the NHL yet. Podkolzin struggled in the NHL. Doesn't look like doesn't look like a guy that's doesn't look like a 10th overall pick that he's supposed to be. I really don't like Vancouver at 9. I don't think they have a good prospect pool. I don't think they've drafted well. I think that Lekkeramaki's been a good pickup for them.
He was a
I'm
steal.
curious
He
to see.
dropped down at
Yeah,
the draft.
I think I'm curious to see what he does in the NHL, but I this is way too high, especially with Carolina being right under them, and I think Carolina having a better core. I don't agree with Vancouver being at 9. I know
Yeah,
that it's based on letter grades, but even at that, I just think I think if you're gonna judge core 4, you have to judge it based on the quality of the players that there is, and I
yeah.
just think right
Overall,
now
like, yeah.
that's it. I just think right now Carolina and to some extent even Colorado have better players than
So
Vancouver. So Vancouver at 9 is too high in my
we'll
opinion.
quickly show everyone else the rankings. We won't really say our thoughts, but there's St. Louis that follows. There's
Yeah.
Minnesota, which I think they should be a lot higher.
Oh no,
Um,
I actually I have a concern about this. I want to
okay.
clarify something. Matt Boldy as an A is ridiculous. I think he should be a double A. Wallstead as an A, fine. Marco Rossi at 5, okay. Like this list just doesn't make any sense in my opinion. I
Yeah,
don't know
it
who.
upset a lot of people, and we're gonna go to the top
I'm
50
mad about
player
that one.
ranking after, and a lot of people were upset about that. Columbus, I do believe they should be a lot higher,
A
especially
lot
with Jordan
higher.
Dumas, who's really in the headlines right now, and he got
Jordan
cut.
Dumais, yeah.
Yeah, Dume, he got cut by Canada at the World Juniors, and a lot of people are upset about that. Yes, Seattle Kraken, which in my opinion, it's really just Beniers and Wright that really saved that
Yeah,
um
agreed.
that pool. Yeah, the Edmonton Oilers, not that great. Arizona, yeah, okay, yeah.
But even that, like
Even Arizona should
Arizona
be a
should
little
be
bit
higher than
higher.
Edmonton.
Matthias Maselli is second right now in the ranking
But
of for the
they should
Calgary.
be Arizona should be much higher than Edmonton. They
Yeah.
should be higher than like freaking St. Louis. Like Minnesota should be higher than St. But this list just doesn't make any sense. Arizona I don't know why Arizona's 16th. I don't
Edmonton,
get it. I really
yeah.
don't.
Xavier Borgo is part of trade rumors as
Yeah,
well. So we'll
yeah.
see if he's still a member of the Edmonton Oilers. Los Angeles, pretty underrated, I would say. I think they should be a little bit higher.
Byfield at 5, really interesting.
You know, uh, Predators, Florida, New York Islanders, Philadelphia,
Yeah, that one I agree
Toronto,
with. Toronto, I agree with.
Winnipeg,
Yeah.
Washington,
Actually,
Chicago.
Winnipeg should be higher. Winnipeg should be higher. Brad
Yeah,
Lambert's good. Perfetti's good. McGroarty's on the World Junior. I know that this was made before that, but just to basically say that, like, I think the Jets should be higher. Washington, yeah, that adds up. Uh, Chicago's low, but also they haven't really drafted
don't
that
worry
well.
about it. After this season is done, they're gonna be stocked up with a lot of prospects and potentially a top three um, draft pick at the end of this year.
Did you see the Rangers ranking?
Wait, we're going back up? Oh, Rangers right here.
No, Rangers.
Man, look
It,
at Lafreniere. Imagine that. First overall pick. Look
bro,
at him.
I know that Craig Button is he's good at scouting, but one thing I gotta say is he's really, really, really like downplaying Lafreniere. I know I'm high on Lafreniere. I
Because he's
believe
not
in him.
having the impact a first round pick
You know,
or
shit. When you play
a
on the
first
third
overall
line,
pick should have. That's the
yeah, when
problem.
you play on the third line and you're not getting power play time because the first power play unit is always on the ice, it's kind of hard to like. I'm saying is, in my opinion, how I see it is, Alexis Lafreniere would be a much better player if he was on a team that would utilize him properly. That's how I
Honestly,
see it.
it's funny how I said we're not gonna talk about our feelings about the rest of the ranking, and here we are talking about our feelings.
Anyways,
Um, I
moving
guess
on.
some yeah, Calgary, Boston, that's normal. Let me
Yeah,
guess, Pittsburgh's last. No, they're not.
Tampa's
Uh,
last. That
Tampa's
makes sense.
last. It makes sense. And now moving on to this list very quickly. Um, just looking at it, people are upset that Nick Suzuki is ahead of Elias Pettersson. They're saying that Dahlin should be a lot higher because he's in the conversation for the Norris this year. Jack Hughes and Robertson and Makar should be the top three. I agree with that.
Pedersen
Um,
top six is crazy in my opinion. I like Pedersen, but that's high.
what else here? Um, hmm.
Spencer Knight. Wow, interesting.
Let's look at the rest of the top 50. I think Cole Caulfield should be a little bit above Owen Power and Bowen Byron, but that's just me. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, like, look, there's a lot of guys that are not. They just entered the NHL. They're not proven yet. There's some guys that haven't even made the NHL yet, and but they have, their ceiling is high essentially. So we'll see what happens there with these guys. But I mean, if you want to rank the top 50 prospects in total or whatever, young guns, no pun intended, or whatever, rookies this year, you know, I do think that it's a good list overall. But in terms of the ranking, it could go either way. If you're a fan of this guy, you're gonna have him higher over a guy like, let's say,
yeah.
Nick Suzuki. I know a lot of Vancouver fans are not happy about Nick Suzuki being over Darlene. But again, it's
Pedersen, you
about
mean?
the overall impact as well in terms of what he's capable of on the ice overall. It's not just about
Where's
points.
Jack Hughes 3?
It's
Okay.
about penalty killing. It's about power play as well. Overall play as well. The most complete player, and obviously Makar. In my opinion, this guy could be a forward. He could be a defenseman. He could be whatever he wants
He
to
can
be
even
because
play
that's how
goalie.
great
I'm
he
sure he'd
is.
do well in goalie too.
Yeah, but I mean,
I'm
we'd
joking.
like to hear your thoughts essentially, guys, on Craig Button's ranking of the top 50 players under the age of 24 and also his ranking of the core 4 plus more or whatever you want to call it under 24 in that it's ranked by teams in terms of prospects,
Yeah,
rookies, and guys that are in entering their sophomore years, you could say. And we'd like to hear from all the fan bases since we've literally covered every single team in the NHL.
kind
Make
of.
sure to
We went
like.
through it, but not really.
Yeah, we went through it, even though we said we weren't. We'll like you guys to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and comment in the comment section below. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Young Guns podcast. Thank you so much, guys.